the Dim Din Podcast, a safe space to talk about misconceptions, perceptions, assumptions, and frustrations.
Hello, and welcome to the Dim Din Podcast, a safe space to talk about misconceptions, perceptions, assumptions, and frustrations that continue to create a divide between us Africans in the diaspora and our relatives and friends back in Africa. I am Becca, aka the Cyrenaidian, your host. The first skit we posted to introduce this topic to you all generated a lot of conversations, just like we hope it would. People in Africa were saying, why are we being accused of being selfish? And those in the diaspora were saying, finally, someone is saying something. Unfortunately, we're not talking about that very topic today. But today, we are going to dive into parenting in the diaspora. Growing up, there were a lot of people around me who strongly believed that for your child to succeed, they need to be raised in overseas. So everybody tried their very best to have their children travel and grow up in overseas. Now, is that a misconception or the reality? We're about to find out. And to have that conversation today, I have with me two beautiful, wonderful, knowledgeable guests in this very area. On my very right here, I have Fimata from Sierra Leone. And on the far right, I have Patricia from Zimbabwe. Welcome on board, you both.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm very fine, thank you. And it's a pleasure to have you on
It's a
board.
pleasure having you, and I like your.
Thank you very
Your
much.
colors are so cute.
And you look wonderful as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so ladies, the topic of the day is parenting in the diaspora. And you both have parented both in your countries of birth and in Canada. Now, I'm sure you heard some of these conversations growing up, or this misconception, if we will put it that way. Now that you are here and you're raising your children here, would you say this is a misconception or reality?
To me, I can say it's a reality.
Okay.
On the other hand, it can be a misconception.
Okay. Not taking sides. Okay. Okay. Tell us a little bit more about that.
For instance, being a child growing up in Africa, if we like talking about this topic, we have to like look at three categories of growing up. We have to look at the social aspect of growing up a child, the cultural aspect as an immigrant, and the technological aspect of it.
Ooh.
So if you have to like put all of those things together, I think there are so many factors to consider. That's why I said it might be a misconception or a reality. It all depends on your perception about you growing up a child in Africa or in the diaspora.
Okay. So that's a good way to dive into that. I'll get Patricia's take on this whole thing. Is this a misconception from your point of view that overseas is the best place to raise a child? Or is it your reality or the reality in general?
I would think it's a misconception,
Okay.
especially if you grew up in Africa and you have African culture. When you come here trying to do the same things that are done in Africa, you might have challenges.
A lot.
So
A lot.
challenges. A lot.
A lot.
No joke about it. It's a lot.
And that's a really good point right there. So with that, how about we dive into the question then of what are some of those challenges? Okay, before we go into that, the first thing you said about culture and stuff like that, do you think that mothers that were raised in Africa and are parenting in the diaspora are well equipped to parent children in the diaspora?
Definitely not.
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 Tell me a little bit more about that not.
Because growing up in Africa, we saw our parents, our mothers, raising us. But it wasn't just my mom. I had aunties. I have uncles. I had cousins. Rarely was my mom responsible for everything. Now I had other people taking care of me. I had my sisters. I was more raised by my sisters and the nannies than my mom. But then when I got here, all was on me. All was on me. Do I know how to do that? Some of the things you hoping to get help that you will never get in Canada.
Yeah.
You have to run around and be everything. Be all those things. Be the auntie, be the mom, be the friend, be the cook, be the driver.
Yeah.
Who can do that?
Yeah.
And then all those things come to you as a mother, and you go through a lot of stress in this country.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And very touching, like very emotional. Because what I hear you say is that in Africa, you had a community. Because
Exactly.
there is that saying, it takes a community
To raise
to
a
raise
child.
a child. But here in the diaspora, you feel like it's left on you as an individual
It's me and me alone.
raise that child, and you better do a good job.
A good
Because if
job.
you don't,
There is a system.
there's a system coming
The
for
system
you.
comes for you. It goes around you. And that's the funniest thing. And that's the most difficult aspect of it. Considering the system here, like really considering what the system does with kids. Like they prioritize the kids way more than you. And the priority they give to kids are not like going with a responsibility for the kids. Like it's not a stipulated responsibility for the kids. Like everything is based on the parents. If you do this, if you do this, if you do that, call the police, call 911. But then me brought up in Africa, if I do something in school, my mom will go to school and they will lay me on a flat table and the teachers will be beating me up and my mom will be beating me up. And those things. But here they will tell you not to smack your child. But then my little baby will come to me and tell me, Mom, you're lying. Mom, you're not supposed to do this. What do you think you're doing? And those things. So there's a lot more to that. And like Patricia was saying, you being a mother in Africa, like me, I gave birth to all of my kids in Africa before I came to this country, even the least one. I traveled with her when she was like 6 months old. So the difference I can see in her is way, way much than the ones I gave birth to here. Because she thinks she was giving birth here. And everything, she started talking here. So even her accent is way different than mine and the other kids. So like, she can come up to you and say whatever she want to say. But for the oldest, she has to watch when she's talking to her mom. You see the difference? Because she was born in Africa, but then she wasn't brought up there. She started talking here. So there's that gap between the older ones and her. And then, looking at the system, I have my daughter or I have my child, and the system will say, okay, this is your child, but then this child is ours too. And it's ours in the sense they are the overseer. They look after everybody. The system works for everybody. But then you are the mother. You are the direct connection. You are the driver, like you are rightly saying. I take them to soccer. I take them to the musical thing. I take them to the basketball. I take them to school back and forth. And the kids will think it's my mom's responsibility to take me to school. Even when my oldest is like 17, she's supposed to be taking the bus, right? She's supposed to be taking, oh, Mommy, I can't take the bus because it is so cold. But in Africa, my mom will tell you, walk to school. And she will park the car. Why? Because you did not wash the dish in the morning, right? So if I tell you, because you did not wash the dish in the morning, and I'm not taking it to school, and she will stand there and call 911, what will I do? I will succumb to her. The reason be that I don't want to be taken to the police. Because if I'm taken to the police, they will come and take all my kids away from me. and the kids will be taken away from you, then I feel useless. I feel like I'm not a good mother. At the same time, I think I have to give a good manner to my own kids. And this same society will help you to spoil the kids. The same society will help you to bring up the kids in a proper way. But then, if anything goes wrong, all the blame goes on you. You're not a good parent. You're not this. Considering so many other factors, like sometimes everything is like crazy. It's frustrating.
It's very frustrating.
Like,
It's very frustrating.
Am I really equipped to bring up my kids here? Was it the right thing for me to bring them here? Is it like really okay? What am I up to? Am I doing the right thing? What does the future hold for them?
So what I hear you say, that's very emotional. Very emotional. Because what I hear you say is that the system in the diaspora provides a lot of rights for children and all the responsibilities for the parents.
Yes.
So it's not balanced. My dad used to say, with every right comes a responsibility. So if these children are given these many rights, they should go along with some amount of responsibilities. So you, the parents, are left to try and train these children to understand the importance of having a responsibility. But they then see you as the bad guy.
Yes.
Because how dare you tell me to wash the plates?
Yes.
How dare you tell me to clean my room?
Oh, mommy, there's no food in the fridge, and he will just slam the fridge like that.
Do that to an African parent back
Oh
home.
my God. You won't do it. You can't dare it.
Hey. If you are just joining us, this is the Dimdin podcast, and we're having conversations about parenting in the diaspora. Again, we're not taking sides and we're not calling nobody good or bad. We just want to try and educate and sensitize you all so you really understand the realities of raising children in this part of the world. So going back to that aspect of like roles and responsibilities or rights and responsibilities, we talk about the system, because what I see a lot is a system. I grew up in Africa. Well, I was there until I was 21. So I understand the aspect of being parented in Africa. And I also understand that aspect of being parented in the diaspora as well. When I came in at 21, my dad looked at me and said, hey, you're 21, but you're not ready for this part of the world, because I was not also thinking like a 21-year-old would think in this part of the world or acting that way, responsibility-wise. Because back there as well, as much as we got all the training and the discipline and stuff, there's that part of parenting in the African context where as a child, you're supposed to respect your elders.
You don't even look your elders
you
in their eyes.
don't look them in the eye
if you don't
when
do
they
them
talk to you, right? And you don't speak unless you're spoken to.
That's
And
culture.
sometimes even when you're spoken to, you better know not to say anything.
Yes.
Because your mother is talking.
You don't
do
talk
not
when
say
you're
anything.
when you are not asked to.
Exactly. Because
Speak
if you
when
try to
spoken
go, right? But in this part of the world, though, I feel like children are recognized as a whole human being from a very tender age, who has or who is expected to have choices, to have a say, and to have an opinion in how they want to live their lives. Do you think there is a good side to the system here?
Yes.
Okay.
There is a good side of the system. Frankly enough, I can tell you for free that kids here go way faster than those in Africa.
Okay.
That's one I can tell you for free. I have a very simple example. I was talking about my youngest. She's 5 years old. She will wake up and brush her teeth and fix her bed. My oldest, or my middle son, he is 12. He will wake up in the morning, and in fact, he can't wake up until I go wake him up. My dear, wake up. You have to go to school. You have soccer. You have this. You have to get up. But for my little one, she will wake up. Mommy, what's the time now? We have to go to school. So they have started responsibility way at a tender age. Way at a tender age. But in Africa, mommy have to tell you, wake up, go to do this, do that, and that, get ready for school. And these are things you're supposed to do. If you're not doing it, they will smack you, right? Yeah, they don't have to smack you. But then, because they think I have a responsibility, I have to do this. She thinks I have a responsibility. I have to wake up and go to school. I have to do my assignment like the way they do in school. They don't give them paper assignment.
Right.
Everything is online, right? So you have your Google Doc, your stuff, where you and your teacher have a conversation, your classroom, and those things. So you know, I have to come back from school. I need to submit my assignment at 12 o'clock. But then in Africa, when the kid come back from school, mommy will ask, what did you learn today? Do you have an assignment? And you sit together on the table and do it.
See, that's a very important point there, Timata.
Yes.
That's a very important point, because I think what I hear you say, too, is that as much as here the system gives children more rights than responsibilities, that same system is also structured in a way that allows children to actually use their coconut
to grow up. You know, it allows them like streamlining them to grow up. And honestly, if you have a committed child that follow up that trend, you have no much problem. You have no much problem.
Yeah. That's a solid
point. At the
point.
same time, on the other hand, if you have a child that you have to tell him or her every bit of thing. Oh, have you done your assignment? I went to your school zone today, and this is what I saw, and this is what I saw. Oh, mommy, my head was hurting. Why he's on technology? You came back from school, you went to the fridge and get something to eat. Instead of you going doing your assignments, you went on the technology. But back home, you don't have that opportunity. Not every home has technology. Not every home. I went to university. I had a laptop when I was in second year university. That's when I had a laptop. Oh, yes. That's when I had a laptop.
I hear you loud and clear.
Because I didn't even know how to use it. So we have to go for computer classes. There's a computer lab, and you go for computer classes. When you come, they will tell, oh, this is a monitor. Oh, this is the keyboard.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the university, second year. Here, my little daughter has her tablet or something. She can manipulate it. She can grab my phone and do whatever. I'm like, Fatima, what are you doing with my phone? And can you imagine that I locked my phone? There's a password on it. And those kids, they use their this thing, the back of their thumb like this, and they put it on my phone. They open it.
No way.
They did.
Literally, you can do that?
Honestly speaking.
Okay. Okay.
They did this. I saw Woki. She did this one. And she did. I'm like, Mommy, please stop closing your phone. You don't need a password to your phone. So the only safe password I have is by using letters and numbers. But my thumbprint, it's not safe.
It doesn't work. Okay. So I hear
see the technology part of it.
A lot of great parts in that. So there are limitations, but also there are a lot of advantages. And what I hear you say about Africa as well, as much as these children are disciplined and parented in a different way, and they know when and how to, they know to respect
exposure
their elders.
Yes.
But also because they're being told what to do a lot, and the system makes room for that.
Yes.
It is limiting their ability to mature at an early age.
Yes.
Patricia, what do you think about this?
I think kids who grow up here, they are at an advantage.
Okay.
Because back home, we were used to shut up.
Yeah.
To an extent that we didn't express ourselves. To an extent that we didn't verbalize our feelings. We didn't verbalize what we were feeling.
You were not allowed to feel.
Yes, you were not allowed to feel. You were not allowed to be angry. You were not allowed to say your opinion. To an extent that if there was abuse, you are scared. What if I talk? What are they going to say? But here, we have a certain bonding that we have our kids. We bring them from school. We come, how was your day? And then we sit with them. You spend more time with your kids here. You know, I was glad that I brought up my kids here because I bonded with my kids who were born here more than my daughter was born in Africa. Because in Africa, she was for everybody. But here, these were my kids. Whatever I was instilling in them, it was from me. There were not a lot of influences that could be a disadvantage. But here, I was giving them food. Every evening, we were sitting as a family. We eat. We had that time to be a family, me and my husband, and we made sure that we sit for dinner. Now they are teenagers. It's a different story.
Of course. You're not cool enough.
yeah. And my African food doesn't taste good anymore.
No.
When they used to love it when they were young. So this is an advantage. And even our men, when they come here, they learn to be hands-on with their kids. We start learning to share. It's hard because it's something that we have to learn. But now they have to be hands-on because no one person can do a thing.
No way.
So you try and say, learn. It's a learning process, especially for first immigrant people.
Absolutely.
So you have to learn all these things and work together. For people who are able to work together, it's really good. It's really, really good. Because I was like, I won't give this for anything. If only I had this opportunity to have with my first daughter in Africa, because I feel like I didn't raise her. I feel guilty for not being there. But with these kids, I wouldn't say, somebody else did this, show them this. I am the mother. I am the influencer.
So what I hear you say then, Patricia, that's very interesting because on one hand, I hear you say there's a lot of challenges with you having to raise your children all by yourself because you are expected to do a lot and it's heavy on you. And in Africa, you had that community, so you felt like that was a sense of relief to an extent.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you said that same community you had in Africa was too many influences
and voices
on your children, whereas here you have that opportunity to just be the parent and raise them the way you are hoping they would be raised.
And you bond with them.
And you're able to bond a lot better with them.
You know, the way my son talked to his dad, my brothers cannot do that to my father. My father was a stranger to them. He would only provide. You only go to dad. When dad calls you, you wonder, what did I do? But here, they're like, Dad, this. They have this friendship.
Bonding,
It's kind of a friend, but it's respectful.
I was raised in that community where if you offend a community member, that community member can actually beat you up.
Yes.
And if that community member comes to your mother to report you, your mother will take you back to that community member
without even asking. No.
Because you don't have a right to as a child. So we have limited rights there, whereas here, the children have a lot more rights. If you're just joining us, this is the Dimdim podcast, a safe space to talk about misconceptions, perceptions, assumptions, and frustrations that continue to create a divide between us, Africans in the diaspora, and our relatives and friends back home. Now, talking about all of this, to summarize, what would you say to our relatives and friends back home who still have this idea of overseas is the best place to raise my child, and even if I have to sell everything to have my child go, I feel like I would have done the best I could as a parent? How would you prepare them to be able to successfully raise a child in the diaspora? Over to you, Fimata.
In my perception, if I'm to give an advice for that, I would say you have to first and foremost be mentally prepared. Like I said in my opening conversation, that we have three factors to all of this. We have the social aspect of it, we have the cultural aspect of it, and then the technological aspect of it. So talking about the cultural aspect of it as an Africans who are so embedded with our culture. You bringing your child here, like you have to be a teacher all over again. You have to be like somehow versatile in like being a mother, a teacher, a friend, and as well a very patient person.
Extremely.
Extremely patient person. Because if you are not, you have to lose on both ends. You're losing your mind and you're losing your kids as well. Who are your priority? So patience, there comes in the patient. You have to be like extremely patient. And then you have to learn to listen to them. Because if you are the only one talking, without asking their opinion, without telling them, I think we need to have a conversation, listen to them, let them give their own view of what is happening, or what do you think you can do in the home? What do you think? Okay, for example, if my kid is not doing well in school, of course, my kids are doing very good in school. But if they are not doing well in school, like you don't have to like, what are you doing? What are you up to? You're supposed to do more than this. You're supposed to bring her up. Talk to her. Tell me, what's the problem? I know you can do better than this. But it seems there are some factors disturbing you. There are some hindrances. Can we have a conversation? In that vein, sometimes you have to like be very calm. Because if you attempt to be so aggressive, there comes the problem. If you don't be careful, there comes in the friends who will tell you, come and live with me. Or there are even community members who are older who will tell you, come and live with me. And in the end, he or she will end up in either in incarceration on the street or somewhere else that is not pleasant. Again, thinking about you being in Africa and bringing your kids here, you have to get the mentality, like I said. The mentality comes first. You have to get the mentality. How? How do I have to get the mentality? You have to learn the ways of living here. Or how to be able to acculturate. Be able to like imbibe other people's culture into yours. You don't have to like be imposing yours.
Into that.
That one has to die out. You don't have to impose it. You have to kick it out. Like you have to like be in between. You have to balance it. Balance the diaspora culture and where you came from, your own native one. By that, you'll be able to like somehow, you know,
find that ground.
Find that ground to stand.
Yeah.
And be able to do something which you yourself will be proud of, or the community will be proud of, or where you found yourself that, oh, my brothers and sisters are in abroad, they are in Canada, they are doing great. It has to come with so much responsibilities, patience, and endurance, and a lot of talking to. Sometimes you say, I don't want to talk, I don't want to say anything, but you have to.
You're tired.
You honestly have to. Because if you didn't, you're looking for something worse. You are finding yourself in the deepest blue sea. And if you cannot swim, there lies the problem.
I love that aspect of balance that you spoke to, because that's huge. If we don't have that balance, we're not able to do things in our best interest, and we'll not be able to maintain our sanity, especially when you travel across the world, right? You expect there to be some level of mental flexibility, is what I hear you say.
Yep.
And to those our brothers and sisters who are watching from anywhere in Africa, this is one of the areas or the podcasts that is here to help you understand and learn a little bit more about the diaspora. So if you're planning to come here, or if that's still a goal of yours, then hopefully you'd be able to understand what is expected of you and how to have that mental flexibility a little bit in your best interest. Now, Patricia, go into the system, because there's different aspects of this, right? Sometimes I feel like the system here focuses on the best interest of the child as opposed to the best interest of the family, right? Because even if it gets to a point where you have to remove the child from the family, that child may be okay in that moment because they're excited. I don't have to do chores and all of that, or so they think. But if you support the family to stay together, I don't think there's anybody better to raise their own children than a mom who carried that child in their womb for 9 months. But that's just my own personal thought, right? Now, coming from Africa with your cultures and traditions and values and into this land of opportunities, what would you say to the system in Canada? What do you think, what would you like to see them do to help you as a diasporan feel a little bit more supported as a parent in Canada?
For me, I would think it's more of education.
Okay.
Because when people come here, when immigrants come here, all they need is education. What's their limits? What can they do? They come here, they bring their children, they bring everybody here. And all they know is how they were raised up, how the system in Africa works. These people, they take kids, sent to school, they are working, they don't know the rules. I think the system has to be more lenient to immigrant families because immigrant families don't know much. Some of the immigrant families, they come from a refugee camp. They've never lived in a city, so they don't know much. And some of the immigrant families, they come as single parents. How do you assist a single parent who's trying to bring their kids up here in Canada? So all those things are aspects that make us fail. And then if you bring children who are already older, there is peer pressure at school. There is that challenge where the kid feels like you're speaking with your African accent. Do you think that child will have the confidence to speak in class? Do you think that child will compete with the kids who grew up here who are already in class? So, and then it will take the character of a child and the motivation that they get from the parents. Is the system helping the kids to integrate for their age? Because when they come here, they put them in, if you are grade 8, they'll put you in grade 8. But now you don't have the confidence, you don't have the language to say whatever you have to say at school. So those are the challenges that we experience as immigrants. I don't know whether that answers your question.
Absolutely, absolutely, Patricia, absolutely. And to round this up, so Fimeta, what you said to our brothers and sisters that are watching from Africa is try and have some level of mental flexibility if you're really wanting to maintain that dream of raising your children in the diaspora. And Patricia, what I hear you say to the system in the diaspora is be a little bit more flexible with us Africans and the immigrants in general coming to this part of the world. Be a little bit more flexible because we came with different values and structures and all of that. And for us to start to understand how things should be done here, we need to be able to try and meet halfway. Meet us halfway. Try and learn a little bit about us before putting or just expecting us to like merge into the system as it is here. And one thing that I will say to parents that are here in the diaspora, there are resources that are available to you. As a mental health therapist, I would say therapy, although it's not an African man's best friend or best option, it's available. Because for us to be able to talk about some of the challenges that we face in a community, that is focused on the individual, we also need to find safe spaces to have conversations and release some of these frustrations in our own best interest. We need to set ourselves up to succeed. And we need to find our community within the diaspora, right? Like, let's talk to each other because we understand where we came from. So if we can bring home away from home as we're creating a home here in the diaspora, that will be in our best interest.
And that's what Canada does. Canada is a land of communities. We have Ukrainians, we have Indians, we have Africans, but as Africans, let's work together in raising these kids.
Absolutely. Well summarized. Well, you've heard from the women and the mothers we'll definitely make sure to create an episode where you'd hear from the men's perspective, because we don't want to be biased. I don't want people calling me out, say, Patricia, you're biased. So we'll have an episode for the men. But for today, thank you, ladies, so much for gracing the Dimdin podcast with your beautiful thoughts and ideas on how we can bridge some of this divide on the whole aspect of parenting in the diaspora, and the diaspora being the best place to raise your children. For those of you who are watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family if you want to hear more of this, because we need you on board. At the end of the day, Sabe Sandimdin.
The Dimdin Podcast, a safe space to talk about misconceptions, perceptions, assumptions, and frustrations.